here we go. This is my website. This is the local host that is running. However, here is the deployed site. So pretty much this is deployed with Vercel. It is a Next.js production build. So you can see here that this has been created with Next.js. There's a couple of technologies that I'm using here. So it's a one-page scrolling website. So we have the about, home. Here is like the home introduction. So this is going into more the architecture of how to create a just a typical portfolio, clean, modular React Next application. So we'll have first here we have the home page. This will be like kind of the introduction. So for anybody that wants to create a portfolio site or a general website, I think it's really important to have content here that sticks out. So in my case, what I put here was 10 years of experience in software engineering across a diverse range of technology. So something that really sticks out and makes you like different. And something that calls. So in this case, this is you want to have like a content here that calls attention, and then you want to have a CTA, a call to action button here, which eventually when the user clicks on that, it'll take them to the next page, which is another like introduction. It can be like an introduction page. In this case, it's another like content page, a little bit more talking about yourself. In my case, like I put like what makes me stand out. So put something that makes you stand out as a software engineer. So in my case, it's the experience I have, the passion, very self-disciplined, research. I love researching, so I think that's something really important as software engineers, and something that I'm pretty it's pretty funny. It's a radical problem solving. What I do is it's kind of like what I'm known for, that I like to radically problem solve things. So it's basically like stubbornly trying to resolve something until you get it done. So it's kind of like what I mentioned here. The focus on radical problem solving ensures that every aspect is done from initial concept to final deployment, and you don't stop until you get there. So that's kind of the catchy phrase that I put here, that really you wanna keep that customer or that client or the person that's viewing on your site focused on your site with this content. So, and then what I put is an actual video, an introduction of myself, my LinkedIn, which it gives this like the actual human touch. So there's a lot of websites that you can have online that it's it's a website, but I think what makes this stand out is if you show that, hey, there's me, there's my LinkedIn, there's so many LinkedIn profiles out there, so you want to like put something that makes it stand out, obviously, and that's you communicating about yourself. It's kind of just an addition to that. So that's part of the if we go back here, that's part of the about section here. So that's kind of what this section shows is about me. And then we have the text section, technologies. This is a slider, content, introduction, content about the technologies that I've worked with, and the slider here, which is this is a React slider component, and I'll go into the architecture of that. But just wanted to explain in the beginning right now just the why I chose the type of content that I chose to put on the site. So again, you want to have like an introduction, content, text, talking about the technologies that I've worked with. So I think that makes this specific section stand out. So you have your content about your technologies. In this case, it's on the full stack, working with React on the front end, TypeScript, Node.js, Nest, SQL, whatever the case is, you want to put that content here. Whatever the technologies that we work with, make it stand out. Make it to catch recruiters, to make them like look at your site and like, okay, this this person has the experience with these technologies, and in this case, just I kind of show it here like in a little slider. You know, that's a creative choice. Doesn't have to be like that, but so again, focused on the content slider. That's in my case, like it's visually appealing. You know, some people don't like sliders, but I think it's pretty. You know, it's nice because I used to actually have this on one page. So different technologies like as a grid, but it's too much content. You want to make it just simple. Above the fold, that's something very important. So you notice here, everything is above the fold. So what does that mean? Above the fold is that when the user lands on the page, everything is showing in the box in the actual screen, so they don't have to scroll and they can see the content right there in front of them. And you want to catch that very quickly, so you don't want them to in my case, obviously this is a one-page scroll website, so the user's going to scroll because that's what it is, but ideally when the user lands on the page, you want to catch them with content, strong content, a CTA, hey, explore more, click here. And this really is like a little additional like call to action. In my case, how I like to express my experience is with the aspect of planning, researching, design, engineering, the whole software development life cycle, which is something really important that I want to stand out. So in my case, that's what I put on here as the content that is above the fold. So we have the home, about, tech, and in the tech section I put on other videos here. This is actually a video of an application that I worked on. So again, it's kind of like the personal like video interview. So a lot of people are going to contact you maybe to do a video interview or a technical interview. So a lot of times this is what you're going to be doing, demonstrating something, or I don't know, maybe live coding. Not a big fan of live coding because I don't think it's the best way to filter candidates, but that actually is another topic that I go into, just the good and bad processes. But anyway, here what the objective is here is to show content that's you again, the human, showing your stuff. You know, in my case, it was an application that I built, a full stack application talking about, you know, technology. So and then we have like the client section, again different clients that I've worked with. This is a reusable component in React. We'll look at the code in the architecture. And then this is like Modal. So this is like what you would call case studies. So these are the different clients that I've worked with. Some sites you'll have them like case studies, but the reason why I did it like this is because to keep the user on the site. So I don't want them to drift away, keep them here. They click here, they can view everything they need to view right in front of them. So, and it's very quick content. They can view what the project is about, the client, technologies they want to visit, boom. So it's very simple and it's all right there. They're not going away from the site. So that's kind of what my intention was, to keep the user here, for that user experience, to make it a pretty simple, happy user flow. So that's a little bit about this client section, which I'll go into the code. But first, what I'm doing is just showing the user experience here. Then we'll dive into the actual front-end code. It's pretty much all just a front-end application. There's no back-end because it's just in this case it's static content. There's nothing coming from a server in this case, obviously, because it doesn't need to. You don't need to do that. So keep it simple, KISS. And then the next section would be a demo section. Again, similar to what we have in the clients section, same type of component here. This is a reusable model component. So what we're doing here is using reusable components, making components reusable. Again, introduction content. In this case, talking about the different demos that I've done for different clients as introduction demo presentations or side practices. And then again, expressing that very simply through content, technologies, view demo, view code. So then the user can view that code. Now when the user clicks on that, it will, in this case, the user will go to that code here. So, but I mean, if you want, you can actually have the user go to a new tab. But in this case, I thought, yeah, just if they want to look at the code, yeah, you can. I mean, that can probably be improved. So, as to, like I mentioned before, keep the user here, but it's very minor. You know, obviously, if the user wants to view the code, they don't want to be on the site anymore. They want to go to view the actual code. So it's a little bit different from content. This is actual like code, and when you look at code, they want to see like the whole architecture. So that's not a big deal. It's separate content that is you know, code. So what else do we have here? And then here's like actually a blog articles section where I write different articles, and again, this takes the user to a different page because it's articles. They need to actually read the article. So in my case, again, how the structure is, it's pretty simple. So you have a home section about tech, clients, demos, articles. In this case, again, here different articles. So this shows just in general, this is a lot of things what you're asked about, like in technical interviews or when you talk to clients. So hey, write it down, create a blog. So this is what I like doing. And there's a lot of good content here that just comes from experience, things from trial and error, experience with JavaScript, experience with Nest, as an outsourced software engineer contractor, just navigating through different contracts, the pros and cons, and other articles, technical, more like just spiritual, and how to be just healthy, more like mental things, like reminders that help to be a better software engineer. It's more like just tips, you know. But this is more about like just your experience as a developer, your communication, and this is a lot of stuff. And I think it's important because as an engineer, you want to be able to communicate. You want to be able to express yourself. You don't just want to stand out as a coder. That's something that I always mention. Coding is the last part, but you don't want to be just the coder that's silent there and just that's not an engineer. So, in my opinion, so the engineer is the whole package. The person that does the everything mentioned here. So it's about planning, researching, design, and engineering. So again, drifting away topic, but that's kind of the idea of this presentation and how I want to express my portfolio here. So, and then obviously you have a contact because hey, they want to contact you, so put that contact information there. Very simple: name, title, locations. I was located in previously in Berlin, Germany, now Lima, Peru, in South America. And simple contacts, contact email, YouTube, LinkedIn, your GitHub, and then Medium. These are the most important contacts, I would probably say. So WhatsApp, send you a message, email, and that's it. Boom. Having said that, let's go ahead and look into the content now. So let's check out the code. Now, if you notice this architecture, it's a Next architecture. So Next, the way it works is it works with pages. So the actual different from React router, Next has pages that are your routes. So in this case, these are routes, but because I have it set up in a single page application, obviously it doesn't do that. But for example, If I wanted to do that, you can see the way Next works is the actual pages are okay, well in this sorry, because this is that's a blooper. On production that will not work, but if you can see here, so the actual route, if you notice here on the pages, is about me. So if we go to about me, you can actually see that the code gods are with us. Okay, so this is out of line, but that's okay, because that's not what you want to show to the user. What you're showing is actually this here. So that is this section here, which yeah, that might be just a little tweak that I have to do, but the point of that, if I can get away from that, is that Next has these set up as pages. So, and Next works as everything in here has like an index, which is the index is the route. So this is the component to that about section. So I'll go into what I'm using here, the different frameworks with React, things like that. So if I go back here, so the way it's set up here, so it's very modular in this sense. So the pages are actually what I am setting up here to view on that one page scroll. So this is actually the intro section, which is what I'm viewing here. So, and this intro, if you notice here with, if you can expect it, if you can actually see this with the React inspector here, you can see the components here. So let's go over here, and this is pretty cool about how React, this inspector shows the components. So this is about me, this is the, then we go to technologies, oh, there we go. So it's actually, that is the React development tools, and that's what you see here. So that is actually the way it's set up here. I'm bringing in those components, the about me technology stack, and I'm calling that those references here. Actually, this is for the one-page scrolling, so I'm using the React useRef hook for that functionality to be able, so the user can actually scroll on the site, click and scroll, and there is an actual so there's a hook that takes care of that. So it's a separate hook to make that more modular, and there's a function here, scroll to section, that will work with that. So here, so let's basically starting off here, I'm just basically importing the components with what I'm using here as the components for the application. So in this case, there's a button, the carousel. This is a previous component that I wasn't using, that I'm not using anymore. Demos, model, content. So again, like I mentioned, there's a carousel, which is a reusable component. So there's a client's carousel, generic carousel, which is the main carousel, and I'm then then I'm creating a client's carousel, which we viewed previously, and then bringing in those props with a client carousel in here. But this client carousel is using the general carousel, which is the main component. So going back to the architecture is using basically Chakra for UI. Chakra is a very, very good UI library for just UI components, and it's very clean. So Chakra, you have like these styling, different from other UI libraries like Tailwind, for example. Tailwind will give you very messy like spaghetti code. In this case, this is cleaner. I actually have a pretty good article, get that out of the way, that talks about how Chakra UI is just more efficient than Tailwind, but that's another topic that if you want you can click on that. But anyway, yeah, so this is what we're using here basically. The architecture consists of TypeScript, Next. Next is the flavor of React. Working with the pages. What else have we got here? TypeScript, I mentioned TypeScript. I always forget that I mentioned TypeScript. And then these, what else we have? Chakra, like I mentioned. And then like different like little plugins, like in this case React multi-carousel for the carousel that you saw. And then what else we have? It's mostly that. I mean, I had Storybook before, but I'm not really configuring it now. You can't. I mean, it previously was there, but I'm not configuring the application right now with Storybook. So basically, this is the architecture. So it's like I mentioned, without drifting away. So the anatomy is we have the intro component. So the intro component basically has what we have in Next is as a head, which is title, you know, meta description. This is for SEO because Next works better with React for SEO, whereas React doesn't have very good SEO. So Next is that's one of the pros about Next. There's pros and cons in my opinion, but Next has pretty good SEO. So in this case, we have like the what Next provides here is like the meta tags, meta description, things like that. So when I share this, it will show this content. Ideally, that's what it does. It'll show like the title, and whenever I'm like sharing the site. So and then bringing in the components, very clean. The About Me component, which is like I mentioned before, that's over here in Pages. It is a component, but it's an actual page, whereas previously they were pages, like the demonstration that you saw before. And then we have technology stack that is here, and it's pretty clean. I mean, there's not much like there's no server, like I mentioned. It's not connecting with any type of server. The only thing that I'm doing here is to get the actual content. So as you can see, we have Chakra, and every component is pretty much the same. Like we're using Chakra in a very clean way. The box component, stacking it as a heading, Chakra styles. Notice it's clean. And then here's the content. You can add to this. You can add like translation and separate this text to a different translation file, and then you can create your translations there. But that's not in this architecture because it's pretty clean. So I'm not going to go into that. And what else? Like the React player for the YouTube videos, and that is the text doc. So a lot of the components, they're basically just it's very simple like this. And the standard, obviously, React hooks that we're using, like useEffect. What else we have? Forward ref. That's for the scrolling. What else do we have? And the content that I'm actually getting. So text stack data. So I'm getting that content from here. This in the future, like I want to make this more modular and a bit smaller from here, but for now that's working. It's a personal preference. So like I said, like this is your site. You can do it however you want. But in my case, I wanted to make it as clean as possible because I've been updating it a lot. Excuse me, and I want to know how to find stuff pretty fast. So this works, and it's pretty much the standard in React. So you have useEffect, standard hooks, very clean. Like I mean, I know where to find stuff very easily. And then we have like I mentioned previously, that text stack carousel for the text stack page, another reusable component, like I mentioned. And then going back to the components, we have the button component, which is like I mentioned, we had Storybook. Storybook is really cool. Like you can check that out if you want. But you can see like a design system how Storybook sets that up, but in this case I'm not really doing that. But I did have it partially set up, and then I think in the future maybe I'll continue to do that, but in this case I don't think it's necessary for my own portfolio site. Maybe in that time I wanted to have like a design system to see all the components outside of the application, which that is essentially what Storybook does. So in this case, like I mentioned, we had a reusable component, button, things like that, Chakra button, and that's it. Very simple. So it's a reusable component, meaning that it's clean. Yeah, and every page is kind of the same, so it's very simple. Contact me. This is like the typical contact content. Very simple. Nothing crazy going on here. Just very clean. So this is the left contact card here. If we go here, this is the content left contact card, right contact card, which is here. So yeah, that is that left contact, right contact card, and that's how it's structured regarding the pages, pretty much. So that's what you see here. Like I mentioned, I'm using the refs here with React useRef hook, and that useRef hook is it's good for like working with DOM elements. So if you remember back in HTML, old school, like whenever you do like a one-page scroll, you click on the actual ref, like the number sign. But in this case, what I'm doing here is I'm using a React useRef hook for that. And what else do we have? We have the components. So again, just going back to the components. So let's see here. Okay, so these are the pages. You saw that. These are the pages that are coming from here, and how it's set up in the beginning, and then how I have it set up with Next. The intro will be right here. So this is how it's set up with a home page calling the intro, and just using like use router from Next router. Nothing crazy with Next. I've worked with Next before. In this case, I chose to use Next because of the page routing and just the SEO simplicity of a static site. In this case, it works. You have like other like static site generators like Gatsby, things like that. But in this case, that's the reason why I decided to go with Next. What else we have here? Chakra, the way Chakra is set up with a Chakra provider. And with Chakra, you actually have a theme configured here. So this is like kind of how Chakra works. You set up the theme, and it's pretty simple. So here you have like your global styles, what your body will be, your background, your color for the body, and your components, the head, base style, pink, things like that. And you can configure it here however you want, and that's how kind of like Chakra works. So it's pretty nice. I've worked a lot with CSS in the past 10-12 years, and I've seen, well, with React applications, this is probably one of the best ways to work with React. I like modularity, I like clean code, and in this case Chakra works well. Previously I had SCSS configured here, but I didn't like all the nesting that was going on there. It was just too messy. So this is why I chose to refactor this completely to Chakra. Okay, so that's the pages. Like I mentioned, we have the components, header, obviously that is the header left content. That would be here, all this here, header left content, and then we have the header navigation over here, header left content and header menu, things like that, and these are the menu items. Excuse me. And this is the header menu, so we have like a desktop navigation, and then for responsive, the mobile navigation. So if you take a look at that, you will see how, if we inspect this, you'll see how that kicks in for mobile, and that mobile hamburger kicks in here. So that is right here, and that is right here for the mobile navigation using Flex. Chakra has really good components for responsive design. Flex, what else? And then we have like icons, using from Chakra UI icons, hamburger icons, things like that. That's pretty much the header. And let's see then, oops. What else do we have? That's a header basically. That's as far as a component for the header. What else do we have? Header left content, header menu. I'm not using a loader. I had previously a loader, but as you can see, this was actually with divs, so I'm not using divs. And if you notice here, this is where I had, or either, this is like just a side note. You can see how the free liberty you have of working with React. You can style however you want. Like in this case, I had with the styles here, and this is a loader that I created, and I might put it back, but yeah, it's not really needed. But the point of that is that it's very clean, modular. So that's the idea of when you create your React components. You want to have your nice, clean modular for anybody that comes in. It's very easy to change things. In this case, you just have to work with the framework, but you'll find the styles there. And it's pretty simple, and it's made to be easy for any developer that comes in. Obviously not in this project, because it's my website. But for any developer, in any project you work with, you want the developer to go in there and be able to find the code pretty easily. So that's the idea behind this, is to be able to make it easy, not just for yourself, but for any team member. And that is what clean code is about. So it's not just a really good book. It is a really good book, but it's just a better way of developing. Code should be like, ooh, poetry, beautiful code. And then we have like the models. So this is what I call the web work model that I'm using. So in this model, this is what we have for the reusable component in the models. So that would be, whoop, there it is. So this is the web work model. So this web work model is showing the clients and also the demos. So it is the way it's working here, it's using Chakra UI icons, and it's using Chakra model, model overlay, model content, model body. All that's coming from Chakra. And then setting up TypeScript interface. And then this is the model. It calls in that prop to open and close. And then let's see here, and then we have the actual content that we're bringing in is then the web model content. So let's go over here, model body, right? So, and that's the general component, right? So then this here, model content box icon, model body, that is what we see over here. That's over here. So that's the model overlay content box icon button. So if we see this back in action, we go to a component that is using it. For example, the web development, that's the client's component. And then we see that we're bringing in, here's the web work model, and then we're using it, we're importing the web work model, and this is the model component. So and then the actual content here is the web model content, which is separately here, and this is the content that you see. And this is more like separate little mini components. So in this case, it is we created an array of these different types of objects. So these are the clients, right? So it's actually what it's doing here, it's mapping. If we go to that page and oh, where is the, let's see, where do we have it? Okay, so there it's using that component, and then it is showing this array as an object with these different that's a content. So then we have in here, then we have the actual content for this client, for example, and this content here is what shows up in here. That is, whoops, that's not it. Let's go over here to clients. That is over here. So it's actually mapping through that, and that's something that we use a lot in React. So that is set up here. So it's showing here. This is the component. It's getting that information from here. So web model content here. So it's all these different components. Excuse me. And it's showing them here. So, and that's basically what's going on here. So yeah, pretty much if you see here, it will show like it's using this simple grid, just going into a little bit more detail about that. Okay, there it is. Sorry about that. Okay, so it is using the simple grid from Chakra, and then this is the carousel. Remember we saw that. And then the simple grid, we're setting up Chakra with the columns, web dev config, mapping over that content. So web dev content, again, like I mentioned. Oh, let's go back to the web dev config. Get back over there. And here it is. So that's basically what it's doing. It's mapping over all that in here, and then it shows it with these little mini components of each client. So pretty much that's what's going on with that web work model of how it's working, how the let's go back over here, how the web development page is working with that model. So that's related to that component. Then we have like a general view component. You know, the view is what we're using. It brings the header and the children and then the footer. So if you see here, that is set up here. Here's a view passing the props of header, and then the scrolling, specifically the functionality that I'm working with for the scroll to section, which is outside of the components, it is actually a hook here. So any type of functionality that is aside from just the basic functionality of the React component, whether it's state management. I'm not doing any state management here, aside from just the typical useState and useEffect hook in React. But then since this is separate functionality, you want to have that separately in your architecture as a hook. So it just makes it cleaner. You don't want to put this, like I did not want to put this in here, because it'll just make it bigger unnecessarily. So separate your code, keep it clean, and then we have that functionality in here. So, and then we're using another hook, useCallBack from React. And then and this is like the actual points, just different functionality to setting up the offsets. So when the user on mobile, it's kind of neat how specifically I've set up the points here for the specific offset location on the page to land, and that is set up here. So just different functionality of how that's related to that scrolling functionality. So that's set up here with TypeScript, using that useCallBack hook, switch statement here. If it's about me, check out that reference, using the reference like typical HTML, like target that reference to scroll there. It's just the React way to do it. And then that's that functionality. So that's separately in this component as a hook. So the way you use hooks in React is you call it with anything that's so use etc 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 use this hook. So it's using this hook, and we're bringing that in here to work with that scroll functionality. So then that's pretty much that. Let me just go ahead and close this out. Let's see what else other components that we have. I'm not using this. This is but again, like I mentioned, separately. No, that's actually no. Yeah, let me get rid of that. Yeah, you're always changing and improving. So, but this site has been definitely improved, and it's just much cleaner now. And the reason why I chose to do this on one single page, because it's quicker, it's faster for the user to scroll, and easier for the user not to drift, come out of the site. So that's pretty much the components. What else? Yeah, I mean, we set up, what else do we have? Next config. Usually every application with a next has a next config, package.json with the different packages that we're using. Font awesome. Oh yeah, the SVG icons, that is over here. So yeah, so that's these little icons here. It's just the library that I chose to use. There's a lot of different libraries for icons. Previously I had Formic. I'm not using that anymore. I had a form in there. So Formic is a pretty good React library in the React ecosystem for like to work better with forms. So Formic with Yup, you can check that out if you want. Next images, React DOM, multi-carousel, React player, Sass. I'm not using that anymore, and actually had styled components in here. So as you can see, I cleaned that out. You ideally don't want to have 3 different, I mean, that's pretty overkill. You should only have one UI library. And that's what I did. Previously I had, like, I was working with Sass, but took that out. And then I had styled components before Sass, but styled components I still like. Anything that's modular and clean, and I like writing CSS. So, but in general, I just like to work better with Chakra. It's just simpler, easier, and it gets the job done faster. So, and then TypeScript, importing your types, ESLint. Yes, and that is pretty much it. Oh yeah, and the vercel to deploy the site on vercel. So this site is it is deployed on to vercel. It's pretty easy. Like any change you make, it'll deploy directly to vercel. So that's very handy and very quick. That's another thing that I like about Next. So there's, I mean, Next has its good things. I believe right now Next is at Next 14, and it implemented like the app directory. It had issues there, but this is a very simple static site, so there's not any type of, that would be for like server-side rendering. So there's nothing crazy going on here. I'm just, like I mentioned, I'm using Next because of the simplicity of a static site. So for the SEO and the pages, but again, it's a one-page scroll. So if ideally you want to have pages and then those pages route, whereas in React Router you need excuse me, you need React Router to do that. It's not a big deal. Like React Router is okay, you set up your routes, but in Next the pages are your routes. So like I mentioned, about me would be like codejones / about me if I set it up that way. and etc. tech stack and all that, but that's not how I have it set up this time. So that is it, pretty much the components for the site. So very clean, you know, try to make it as clean as possible. And there we go. That is my site, Code Jones. So there's another video that I go into this site a little bit detail of my experience as a software engineer. And that is actually this video if you would like to check that out. But the rest, this is more just the architecture, how I developed this site with React and Next. And I think that's about it. So yes, that is it. Very quick. Ooh, we can scroll through that. Contact me. Okay. Thank you very much. Here it is. Visit my site. If you like that, this works great. So yeah, here it is. Contact me. But yeah, hopefully this helps out any developer just wants to create something very quick with React in a portfolio site. Ideally, this is how I would say you want to grab the client, you know, have the client land here, call to action content, hey, have them click here, boom, you know. So yeah, that's how the user experience of a simple portfolio site would work, so in my opinion. So thank you very much for visiting. Okay, have a good day. Thank you. Cheers.